Good evening, and welcome to the Mayor's first State of the City address for Norman, Oklahoma. At least I believe this is the first State of the City. I've asked lots of people, and that has been the feedback that I've gotten. I thought this would be a really good opportunity to share with you some of the highlights of the many, many things that we've been working on at the city over the last 18 months or so. And also talk a little bit about our opportunities and our challenges. I'd like to start by introducing our city council. These are the men and women that agreed to run for election and get elected. They're the ones that come to multiple meetings every week. They read copious amounts of material to prepare. They communicate with you on a regular basis in person, on the telephone, text messaging, emails. They also set the policy for the city of Norman, and they also do the planning for the future. We have a very young and energetic and talented group of people, and they are very committed to doing the work of the city for you, and I'd like to give them a round of applause. I'd also like to recognize this evening Mr. Steve Lewis. He has been our city manager for the last 11 plus years. He has steered this ship steady, and he has kept the trains running on time. He will be leaving us at the end of this week, and I can tell you from my perspective, he will be sorely missed. I've never seen anybody work any harder than Steve Lewis, so thank you for your service. We also have in the audience Mary Rupp, and Mary has been visiting with us, and we believe that she has agreed to join us as interim manager. We will be voting on that later this evening, so I appreciate the fact that you were willing to come and be here this evening, and welcome. We also have our staff. And our staff is mixed in with the next group of people that I'm going to recognize, which is many of our city community leaders. Everyone in this room is a stakeholder in what happens in this city. And nothing would happen without all of this input we get from everybody. Staff, would you raise your hands? We have a few sitting back over here as well. In the audience, we also have community leaders and volunteers that have committed a great deal of their time to doing things to make this a better community, to make it a better place to work, to live, and to raise a family. And they are very much appreciated as well. I also talk a lot about all of the volunteers that we have that help the city out. We have 35 different committees. And each year we pick the outstanding volunteer for the city of Norman. This year we picked 2 outstanding volunteers because I could not choose between the 2 of them. And at this time, I'd like Amanda, if you'd stand, and Andy. Andy Shear has been on the Planning Commission for several years. He served on the Plan Norman Committee, and he and Amanda have chaired the very important Stormwater Citizens Committee. And they do many other things as well. Those are the big things. Amanda co-chair of the Stormwater Citizens Committee. She is also the chair of our Environmental Control Advisory Board, and she also serves on the very important Central Oklahoma Master Conservancy District. They are the people from the three cities, Norman, Midwest City, and Del City, that help take care of and protect our lake. So thank you all so much for your service. Norman's population is now estimated at over 120,000 people. We continue to grow at about the same rate that we've grown for years. In 2017, we grew at 1.41%. So it changes a little bit from year to year, but that's pretty much, we have a very steady growth rate, and that is expected to continue into about 2023. In a recent Norman Economic Development Coalition branding campaign, Normanites described themselves as being diverse, vibrant, inviting, and cultured. Other surveys show that we appreciate our Norman Public School, more Norman technology, and Oklahoma University. We appreciate our affordable housing, our green spaces, and safety and security. We are sometimes called the City of Festivals, and I think that name is well deserved. I remember back in, I think it was 1977, that I took my children, we lived close to the campus, and we walked over to the duck pond. And does anybody know what festival we went to? The Medieval Fair. It was the very first medieval fair, and I don't know how many people were there. It was a glorious experience. There were hundreds of people. This past year, we've had over 350,000 people attend the medieval fair. I just think that's incredible. Other big festivals, our Norman Music Festival had over 100,000 people downtown, and Jazz in June continues to draw crowds of 40 to 50,000. We have received a number of recognitions in recent years. We are ranked 92nd out of over 300 cities as being a great place to start a family, and are ranked in the best cities to pay off a student loan by Lynne Edu. We ranked 5th in the 2017 Best Places for First-Time Homebuyers, and 15th in the Best Mid-Sized Cities for Sports by Wallet Hub. Last fall, the Urban League of Oklahoma honored our Center City Form-Based Code Plan with the ULI Impact Award. And I learned earlier this month from our crack city reporter, Mac Burke, that we ranked 2nd on a personal finance website for the best places to stretch your retirement savings. And that's ever more reason why we need to be investing in services for our seniors. Now I would like to address some of our infrastructure projects. We've all gotten pretty used to the orange cones. I know that they're really irritating. I try to remind myself and everyone else that they are a sign of progress, even though it can be very, very inconvenient. If you had been in this office for the last few weeks and heard people complaining about how hard it was to get from that side of Main Street to this side of Main Street, it could take you 10 minutes trying to find different streets. But then what really makes me feel good is when you drive down the sections of Main Street that are finished, and they look so fabulous. So I really think it's worth the time and the inconvenience to get what we need to make our city a better place. As a result of our 2012 transportation bond issue, Norman Forward, and a water rate increase, we have had a robust ongoing public infrastructure program. Some of the most significant recently completed projects are the widening of Lindsay Street with the new bridge, the widening of Cedar Lane, and the first section of 12th Avenue Southeast. The Franklin Road Bridge was completed last summer, and work continues on the far east side of Norman on roads and bridges with over $26 million in CDBG disaster money. This is the largest amount of money spent on projects in East Norman. And it was a joint effort of the federal government, the county government, and the city. I don't know that everybody is aware of this, and I want to make this point now. We have hundreds of miles of rural roads in Norman. We would not be able to do half of what we're able to do in terms of resurfacing and widening and striping and doing all the things we do in our rural areas if it was not for our partnership with the county. The $4.5 million streetscape project is in its last stage of completion, which includes new surfacing, striping, sidewalks, and landscaping. Our Public Works Department, in cooperation with the Citizens Group of Consumers, completed the citywide American with Disabilities Act Assessment and Transition Plan. We've not done one of these since the early 1900s, right after the early 1990s, right after the ADA Act was passed by Congress. It included an in-depth review of accessibility in city-owned buildings, parks, public rights-of-way, etc., as well as a review of our policies. We are now planning on having a mayor's citizen committee appointed and a new staff position to continue working with our consumers on accessibility issues. We have worked hard in the areas of environmental protection. Our yearly hazardous waste pickup event continues to be one of the largest in the state, recovering thousands of pounds of oil, paint, other hazardous chemicals, and electronics. At a 90% recycling rate for our residents, we have led the state in recycling. Our Community Transportation and Planning Committee, chaired by Councilmember Hickman, has been working on a residential green building incentive policies on construction for single-family homes. And they have been working in cooperation with our development community. Following the recommendations of our strategic water supply plan, we are in the process of significant upgrades to our water treatment facility, are planning new wells, and have plans to begin a reuse pilot study to maximize sustainability of our water supply and to protect our lake. Lake Thunderbird is 70% of our water supply for the city of Norman. Our stormwater division distributed over 154 rain barrels and participated in several trash pickup events. I believe there's 2 more scheduled. There's one in October and one in November, if anyone wants to join them. And finally, we passed a resolution pledging to make Norman ready for 100% renewable energy. This initiative will be coordinated by a subcommittee of our Environmental Control Advisory Board. Norman Forward, passed in 2015, has had a significant impact on our quality of life in its first couple of years. Westwood Family Water Park opened to great fanfare this May and has had record-breaking attendance. The original pool facility usually had an attendance running between 200 and 400 people. This summer, every day, we averaged 1,700 people and had 114,657 visitors to the Family Fun Park. And I just think that's fabulous. The family passes sold out after just a couple of weeks. And you can tell what an advantage it's been to have that new wonderful facility. Part of the ballot initiative for Norman Forward was the 1% dedication for art. And the first art project was installed at Westwood Complex parking lot earlier in the spring, and it was christened Splash. If you haven't been by there, it's worth a drive over there to look at it. It's a great piece of art. We had the ribbon cutting for the East Side Library in July. We were all impressed with the library, the beautiful art installation on the west side of the building, and the beautiful view of the Oklahoma countryside through the north glass wall of the building. It is truly a spectacular facility. Work continues on Griffin soccer fields with new lighting, the leveling of several fields, and plans for new restrooms and a concession area. The contract for the new indoor tennis facility has been approved, and we had a groundbreaking earlier this month. At the groundbreaking, I learned that they had had more than 27,000 people use their facility in the past year and had held 16 tournaments. And that was right after I'd read on Facebook, somebody said, nobody plays tennis anymore. So I know that that's not true. Master plan for Reeves Park have been approved, and the new central library, while not completed, continues to take shape on acres just 2 blocks from our downtown. As work on each project nears the planning stage, ad hoc citizen committees are established. This is key to see that these projects match community needs. Public safety equipment for both fire and police have been purchased, thanks to the permanent PSST voted on by our citizens, by you, in 2014. That same sales tax is responsible for our ability to continue to expand our support for the School Resource Officer Program for the safety of our public school students. This is another important example of our partnerships with Norman Public School, and I cannot think of a more important time for us to be helping out with these kinds of safety efforts. Our fire department continues to add and replace equipment like the tanker truck that we approved in August. These are particularly important in the rural areas of our city where wildfires can do an incredible amount of property damage. In addition, we are undergoing a major upgrade to our citywide emergency radio communication system that will benefit the police, the fire, public works, MSTAT, and the OU police. Preliminary design work has also begun on the construction of a new emergency communications and operations center. The technology that we use for the city is so incredibly important to our daily operations, and we often get criticized for some of our outdated software and the city website. Well, as we speak, significant upgrades and improvements are being made, including updated and integrated software systems, new advanced hardware, a new website, and enhanced residential services applications. Additionally, a new fiber optics loop and expansion of the city's network infrastructure is planned. Your council has shown a great deal of concern about social issues, and with their suggestions and help and the encouragement of our Human Rights Commission and staff, we have made some significant strides. For example, at the request of our commission and a group of Native American activists, we designated Columbus Day as Indigenous Peoples Day in the city of Norman. We are only the second community in the state to do so. DeBar Street, that was named after a former KKK leader and a professor, was finally renamed Dean's Row after many years, and our policy for street name changing was amended. Our police department, in cooperation with the Xenia Institute, is participating in a series known as Voices of Norman, an opportunity for our community members, police, and public officials to dialogue about community police relationships. Our police department is now ready to appoint a citizen advisory group to coordinate with the department on a regular basis. This was a suggestion that came from the Voices Dialogue and is done in many cities across the United States. The Mayor's Prayer Breakfast continues to have record attendance. This is an opportunity for people of all faiths in our community to come together for prayer and sharing and education. The first of the beloved community dialogues was held on the 20th of this month, hosted by Councilmember Bria Clark. This is a joint effort of the university, the public schools, the libraries, and the cities to host conversations about minority issues in our community. Our homeless coordinator, along with 30 other community organizations, received the recognition from HUD that we have met the criteria for ending chronic veteran homelessness. The requirements are very stringent to receive this recognition. Only 64 other communities in the United States have been so recognized. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about economic development. All cities have a primary responsibility for smart economic growth, and Norman is no different. We are very fortunate to be able to work with our partners, OU, More Norman Technology, and the Chamber through the Norman Economic Development Coalition. This past year, our council has had 3 representatives on a committee that was assigned to develop a comprehensive economic development strategic plan for our city. This has not been done for many, many years. While studying the data collected, we could see many positive things about our community: great public schools, state-of-the-art technology center, top-rate university. At OU, we have some amazing potential to have research directly applied to business and industry. Nowhere is this more evident than in our radar and weather cluster. We have an unusually high number of entrepreneurs and small business owners, and we have a number of different activity centers and districts which we can continue to develop. We did, however, see some reasons for concern in this and other data that has been collected recently. Employers are concerned about not being able to find enough skilled workers, low housing starts, flat school enrollment, and sales tax growth falling behind our sister communities in the metropolitan area. In addition, we also recognized a strong need to improve our culture of service at the city level, particularly in the areas of permitting and development. After a year of study and data gathering, the group has developed a 6-point plan to enhance and support smart growth and economic development in our community. Strategic planning is a key for success. Now we need to put the plan into action. We must recognize that we are in an increasingly competitive metropolitan area where our surrounding cities are putting a considerable amount of time, effort, and money into enhancing their own economic growth. Oklahoma City and Edmond are good examples of this, and I am not saying for a minute that I want us to be Edmond or Oklahoma City. I don't. We're our own unique community, but we are being challenged. The fact that we are in a state where cities are reliant to a great extent on sales tax, we cannot be complacent about our workforce education, a business-friendly environment, targeted and intentional support of businesses, and a desirable quality of life. These things cannot be taken for granted, and they do not happen accidentally. The city has been involved in several infrastructure projects with an important goal of enhancing not just transportation, but economic development as well. A major effort was put into the planning for the redevelopment of Central Norman, known as Center City. We rezoned a significant area between the campus corner and Main Street using form-based code. This zoning allows mixed use and encourages the construction of some of the missing middle housing that we know that we need. Then late last fall, we designated, along with our partners, the other taxing jurisdictions, the entire area of this newest TIF at $44 million. This funding mechanism will help assure that the infrastructure needed to encourage development will be in place. The public funding, along with the streetscape efforts along Main Street and Lindsay Street, should give a boost to those business areas. It is already very apparent on Main Street, where new businesses continue to open and to flourish. We look forward to the redevelopment planned by the county in the downtown area. They have an amazing plan for the courthouse square, parking garage, a public wellness facility, and a farmer's market on James Garner. We studied the proposed UNP master plan for the north half of the UNP, but we were unable to come to any agreements on the master plan or for a funding mechanism. However, this area situated along I-35 remains as a valuable opportunity for economic development for our community. Our arts community works tirelessly to make Norman the kind of city where people both want to live and to visit. Each year, the major music festivals get bigger, and the monthly art walk gets more inviting by adding food and drink and activities. Art continues to pop up around town in the form of bicycle racks and ducks and sculptures and murals. I've already mentioned the power of adding 1% for art to the Norman Forward initiative, and there is still a significant art allocation in TIF number 2, which I would love to see manifest in more beautiful artwork around our community. Our council continues to have challenges. 3 areas of major focus for the council are the budget, the senior center site, its funding, and a solution for our stormwater challenge. Our budget has some systemic problems, and we hope that the council can work on them this year and resolve them by restructuring the TIF or ending it, passing the stormwater utility. We could go a long way towards relieving our budget shortfalls. We cannot just do one. We have to do everything. The senior citizen center location and the funding mechanism should be clear as we complete our land negotiations for long-term leases on land from both the University of Oklahoma. I did talk with President Gallagher today, and the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. These have been the most frustrating issues we've worked on in the last 3 years, but I still feel optimistic and hope for a positive outcome. The third key issue is agreeing on a solution to our stormwater challenges. This is where we need a broad base of community support. We've known for many years that we did not have sufficient funding to offer our residents the kind of robust program that we needed. Like cities across the country, we found ourselves struggling to keep up with costly infrastructure improvements and protect the water quality of our lakes and streams. Fortunately, we have had a wonderful citizens committee working all this past year on possible solutions. They have thoroughly studied the issues and have conducted 6 community open houses to get input. Their present proposal recommends a bond issue for large infrastructure projects and a reasonable utility rate for maintenance and prevention. Hopefully, we will have that ready to go to a vote by the people in 2019. The City of Norman has accomplished a great deal over the past year and a half, and there is no reason that we cannot continue and do more. The opportunities are all there for us. But none of these things would have been possible without the hard work of our city council, our great staff, our amazing citizen volunteers, and all of our community partners. A big thanks to each of you. And in the famous words of Margaret Mead, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Thank you all so much for coming.